Okay, hello IP5, I'm Teacher Joe, and this is week 5 of our English review lessons. So far we've looked at chapter 1, the sentence, and chapter 2, nouns. This week we're going to start a new chapter, chapter 3, verbs. So I hope you all remember what verbs are. Okay, so IP5 English Summer 2020 Review, chapter 3, verbs, lesson 1. Present tense verbs. So this week we're going to be looking at the present tense. Now, this is easy, you should know it, you've been studying verbs for many years, but just to remind ourselves, a verb is a word that shows what something does or what something is. An action verb shows what something does. So let's look at some examples. The sailors row their boat to shore. What is the action verb in that sentence? The sailors row their boat to shore. Okay, the action verb is row, like when you row a boat, you move the paddles and the boat moves. Next one, the goalkeeper saves the other team's shots. The goalkeeper saves the other team's shots. What is the action verb in that sentence? The action verb is saves. Like if you play football and someone stops the ball from going in, you save it. Last one. We leave school at 3:30. We leave school at 3:30. What is the action verb in that sentence? Leave. Okay, so as well as showing what something does, we use the special verb be to show what something is. So again, we're going to look at some examples. I am a teacher at Patai Udom Suksa. What word tells what something is in that sentence? You should know the special verb be. The form we use with I is am. Next one. She is a wonderful doctor. Now this one's very easy because it shows what something is. So the special verb be that we have in that sentence is. Last one, they are an intelligent group. They are an intelligent group. What is the special verb be in that sentence? Are. Okay. We learned in chapter 1 that sentences have two parts. A subject, which tells who or what the sentence is about, and a predicate, which tells what the subject does. And we also talked about how the simple subject is usually a noun, and the simple predicate is a verb. So I want you to look at this example. The smartest boy in the class passed all the exams. Now for a moment, let's forget about verbs. I want you to tell me the complete subject in that sentence. What is the complete subject? The smartest boy in the class passed all the exams. The complete subject is the smartest boy in the class. So what's the complete predicate? Passed all the exams. So the sentence is about the smartest boy in the class, and passed all the exams is what he did. So what's the simple subject in that sentence? The complete subject is the smartest boy in the class. What is the simple subject? What is the most important word in that sentence, in that subject? The simple subject is boy, which again is a noun. So what is the simple predicate in passed all the exams? You're looking for a verb, and I hope you know that the simple predicate is passed. Okay, so we already know that verbs can show action, but as well, verbs tell you when that action happens. We know when an action happens because of the tense that we write the verb in. So, today we're talking about present tense verbs. Present tense verbs describe an action that happens now. So, we've got some examples. And the important thing to remember here is that sometimes we need to change a verb, but sometimes we do not. So, if the noun in the subject is plural, if the simple subject is plural, then we don't change the verb when we're writing in the present tense. So, The women hum quietly. The women hum quietly. The noun in the subject is women. Women is a plural noun, means more than one woman. And the verb hum, like the verb hum, we don't need to change it. Next one, Karen and Megan complain often. So in that subject, we've got two people, Karen and Megan, and they complain, like they say they do not like things often. So the verb complain, we do not need to change. And last one, the horses compete in the race. The noun horses is plural, there is more than one horse, so we don't need to change the verb compete. Okay, we just talked about how we don't need to change the verb when we are using a plural noun. Now look at these pronouns, I and you. Now the pronoun I is singular, like me, and the pronoun you can be singular when I'm talking to one person or plural when I'm talking to more than one person. So remember, we don't just leave the verb the way it is for anything that is plural, because I and you can be singular. So when we have the pronouns I, you, we or they, again, we are not changing the verb. So, I practice my language skills all the time. I have the pronoun I, so I don't change the verb practice. You repair your broken bicycle. Got the pronoun you, we don't change the verb repair. We damage our teeth with sugary sweets. Again, we've got the pronoun we, so we don't change the verb damage. And they hunt their prey. We've got the pronoun they, so we don't change the verb hunt. Okay, now, if the noun in the subject is singular, or we're using the pronoun he, she, or it, then we do need to change the verb in the present tense. Usually this is very easy. Usually we just need to add s to the verb at the end of the verb. So, earlier I talked about the women. The women hum quietly. But now we've only got one woman, the woman. So the woman hums quietly. We add s to the verb hum. Megan complains often. Before we talked about two people, Karen and Megan. But now we're just talking about Megan. So we add s to the verb complain. Megan complains. Earlier I said the horses compete in the race. There was more than one horse. But if I'm only talking about one horse, the horse competes in the race. I add s to the verb compete. Again, if we're using the pronoun he, she, or it, we do add s to the verb. So, he repairs his broken bicycle. We add s to the verb repair. She damages her teeth with sugary sweets. We add s to damage. It hunts its prey. We add s to the verb hunt. Okay, so while usually we just add s to a verb when we have a singular noun in the subject or the pronouns he, she, or it, sometimes we need to look at other rules. So if a verb ends with s, ch, sh, or x, we don't just add s, we need to add es. So, the player passes the ball to his teammates. The singular noun player, and then the verb pass. The verb pass ends with the letter s, so we need to add es, passes. The chicken hatches an egg. Chicken is singular. We have the verb hatch, and the verb hatch ends with ch, ch, so we need to add es to that verb. She pushes past everyone else to get to the front. We've got the pronoun she, and then we've got the verb push. Push ends with sh, so we add es. Stephen mixes his favourite fruits to make a delicious smoothie. We have the singular noun Stephen, and then in the verb we have mix, which ends with x. So we add es to that verb to make mixes. Okay, as well, if a verb ends with a consonant and y, we have to change the Y to an I and add ES if that verb comes after a singular noun in the subject or the pronouns he, she, or it. So, Sally empties the garbage into the bin. The verb empty ends with T, which is a consonant, and then Y. So, we need to change that Y to I before we add ES. Empties. E-M-P-T-I-E-S. She worries she threw away her keys. The verb worry ends with the consonant R followed by the letter Y. So we change that Y to an I. She worries. W-O-R-R-I-E-S. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about how we need to change the action verb depending on the subject. But we also need to change the form of the special verb be that we use, depending on whether the noun in the subject is singular or plural, or depending on different pronouns. So, if we have the pronoun I, the form of the special verb be that we use is am. So, I am fed up with all this noise. If we use the pronoun you, the form of the special verb be that we use is are. You are very capable. For the pronouns he, she, and it, we use the form is. So he is the best swimmer, she is an enormous help, it is time for lunch. We use is. We also use is if the noun in the subject is singular. So the dog is playful. For the pronouns we and they, we use are. We are worried about our tests. They are very sweet. We use are after we and they. We also use are after a plural noun in the subject. So the strawberries are ripe. Okay, IP5, that is the end of this week's lecture. Before we go, I'm just going to explain your homework to you. So you should have this worksheet, IP5 English Chapter 3 Verbs Review Worksheet Week 5. Section 1 is very easy. All you need to do, circle the present tense verb in the sentences. So, number 1, the boxer punches his opponent. What is the verb in that sentence? I want you to circle it. Section 2 is a little bit more difficult, but still not much. Okay, so all you need to do, you need to read the sentence and write the verb in this blank space. So, you have a verb here. The puppy's something loudly at night. Now, you might need to use bark the way it already is. Or you might need to change bark. Is it barks? Is it barkers? Is it barkies? I think you know it isn't. But you need to decide whether you need to change this verb or not. If you don't need to change it, just write bark. The puppy is bark. If you think it's barks, you'd write the puppy is barks. So you need to look at the subject carefully. If the noun in the subject is singular, you might need to change the verb. If the noun in the subject is plural, you don't need to change the verb. And you also need to look if it's a pronoun. So do the same all the way to question 25. Okay, IP5, that is the end of this week's lesson. We've looked at present tense verbs. Next week will be our last week of English review class before we start school again. And we will be looking at the future tense and the past tense. So until then, stay safe, keep washing your hands, and bye-bye, IP5.